Thank you for joining us. This is The Big Issue, and in studio with me is Janet Adetu, the CEO of JSK Etiquette Consortium. And we've been talking about thriving at work in terms of etiquette, in terms of relating to your colleagues, in terms of relating to your boss, which we're going to start off this second part of a discussion with. How do you relate with your boss? And if you have a very difficult boss, how do you get through that? Because I know so many people who have difficult bosses and they're like, oh my goodness, I do not want to go to work today because just the thought of being in the same room with that person makes me want to strangle myself. So how do you deal with such a boss?
You know, first and foremost, I have to say, Maria, that your boss is there actually to mentor you, to guide you, you know, and to encourage you. And of course, to recognize when you've done well at work. Of course, there are some bosses in organizations where they may be weak, they may be political, they may be obsessive, you know, maybe they don't actually recognize good work, or actually, in fact, with them, they don't communicate well, they don't reward you well, or maybe they use disciplinary measures inappropriately. They don't, or they're rude, they're loud, and they have serious tempers. I have to say, first and foremost, not all bosses realize that they have that kind of characteristic trait. You know, sometimes it depends very much on their background, what is happening around them, their personal circumstances. Some of them, it depends on the kind of training that they have, you know, and some of them is just the chemistry doesn't work. First and foremost, a difficult boss is in the eyes of the beholder. You see, you have to look and say, is he just angry or bitter with me all the time, or is it a general consensus? Is he like that to everybody? If he's like that with everybody, then of course you're not alone. You see, and therefore, you know, you shouldn't take it personally at all. How do you deal with this difficult boss? First and foremost, you have to remain calm. I would not suggest that anybody engages in any form of verbal confrontation with your boss. It will come back and backfire in your face. You know, sit down and think before you react. Sometimes if you react impromptly, you're going to regret what you have said. Sit back and just react. If there's any form of criticism, take it on a positive note and not on a negative note. Try to document certain circumstances with your boss, if at all, just in case it escalates to another level. I would not suggest at this point in time, or at any point in time, really, unless it's that bad, that you go up to a higher hierarchy, that's maybe your boss's boss. Probably don't do that at all. Try to be discreet. At all times, I keep saying, remain professional. Sit back and think, you know, how is my performance doing? Is my boss really just getting on my nerves, or is he really right about my performance? Check yourself, you see? And then that difficult boss, maybe it's a communication issue. Sometimes they don't know that they come across hard, fierce. Your boss may be under serious tension and maybe, you know, burdened with so much stress to deliver himself, and therefore he wants some productivity from his, you know, his subordinates. Maybe your productivity is below his expectations and he's trying to just gear you up and push you and motivate you to actually work harder. Some people don't realize that the push is because they actually want you to work harder. You know, don't feel victimized at all in any circumstances, you know. If at all, the ultimate is where he's really getting on your nerves and you really feel it. Don't take work home. Don't just take the pressure of what's happening in the workplace home, because it's only going to stress you out even more. I would say have a mentor in your office and report to that mentor first and foremost, okay? Then having said that, if at all it's getting really out of hand, you can request for a change of department, you know, but ultimately, what are your career goals in the office?
That's exactly what I wanted to ask you. What do you do if you're thinking, this isn't going to change, this boss hates me? What do you do? Because it can be so demoralizing, especially if you have to come to work and you're being pushed to the liver and you're thinking, oh, this man is, you know, pressuring me and he doesn't like me and he's treating me really badly. How do you, when is it time for you to say, okay, I need to find another job, or I need to change department? What are your options?
We're hoping it doesn't get to wanting to change to another job, because at the end of the day, you're in that job because of the career goals that you have in life. You know, you want to achieve something, and nobody should have that right to make you fail in that achievement. But ultimately, I would suggest for colleagues in the office, be bold and courageous to seek audience with your boss. And, you know, just go to your boss and say, well, you know what, I apologize for what I have done. I actually thought I should have done it this way, but I've come across wrongly, I apologize. You know, once you go there and you're apologizing, you're going into the big good books of your boss, and the boss sees that you accept the criticism, you know. But ultimately, if your boss is really temperamental, you know, your seeking audience, he's not changing. Please don't expect an immediate change even after you've reported your boss. You know, don't take it personally at all. Get on with your work, strive for the best, and just sometimes ignore those things that come across to you as being, you know, a little bit harassing to you, you know. Get on with your work completely. Keep doing what you think you're doing best. Document these certain situations. If it does get out of hand, then before you leave the organization, you can ask and request for a transfer to a different department. That's, you know, that's thing. Your plan B would be ultimately to change your job, but I wouldn't suggest you change your job at all, because you may get what, you know, like they say, what you don't know won't hurt you. But then at the end of the day, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. So you're in an office setting, you want to stay and remain under control. Okay, because if you leave to another organization and you get worse, you still need to know how to handle these circumstances and these situations. I still say remain patient and persistent. From every boss that you have, good or bad, learn, listen before you act.
Great.